So moving on to launching Design Modeler, and there are two key ways to launch Design Modeler as part of the Ansys Workbench simulation process. We described in a previous slide about bringing the analysis system or component system into the Workbench project schematic from the toolbar on the left hand side within Workbench, in order to allow Workbench to understand what type of simulation you're going to perform. Well, of course, as part of that, the geometry step is a stage early on in the simulation process, and as a result you will see it listed at the top of the analysis system when dragged in, and that can be seen on the left hand side with the CFX and Fluent analysis systems, where cells B2 and C2 have the geometry step listed in that particular cell, which is upstream of the mesh step. And to open up the Design Modeler interface, you will simply need to double click on the geometry cell, or right click and select Edit in Design Modeler, and that will then open up the Design Modeler interface. Similarly, with the component system, we can, once we've dragged the geometry or mesh components into the project schematic, we can double click or right click and edit in Design Modeler on the geometry cell of the component system, in this case A2 for the geometry and B2 for the geometry cell of the mesh component system shown on the right hand side, and that will also open open up the Design Modeler interface. As far as units in Design Modeler, you will see this dialog box appear when you start Design Modeler, and you will see a number of options to specify the units to be used as part of the Design Modeler simulation process. So you should select the units that you intend to use to create your geometry, and also potentially those that are matching the units that we use to create the geometry in the upstream CAD system as well, to ensure that it's relevant as far as the units are concerned between Design Modeler and the CAD system units. And there are also some options at the bottom of the dialog box as well, to always use the units defined for the entire project in Workbench itself. So always use the selected units, which has just been selected above with the radio buttons above. And there's also an option to opt for large model support as well. Some models are many kilometers across, and in order to extend the range of capability of the units for Design Modeler, this is an option that you need to ensure is checked on if you're going to be looking at such large models, so it can support them. And it's important to point out that we can't change the units part way through the Design Modeler session. So once they're set from the beginning, they'll be used all the way through the Design Modeler process. So make sure you set them correctly at the beginning of the analysis.